Today, I will be presenting a brief report of Indonesia, covering its location, history, economy, trade, and current challenges. Indonesia is a country located in Southeast Asia along the equator. It lies between two continents, Asia and Australia, and between two oceans, the Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean. Because of this strategic location, Indonesia is also known as Nusantara. It is the largest archipelagic country in the world with more than 17,500 islands. In 2006, Indonesia's population was approximately 222 million people. Government and borders. Indonesia is a republic. The president and members of parliament are selected by the people. The capital city of Indonesia is Jakarta. Indonesia shares land borders with Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, and Timor-Leste. It is also located near Singapore, the Philippines, Australia, and India. The national flag. Indonesia's national flag was officially adopted on 17 August 1945. The flag consists of two horizontal colors, red and white. Red symbolizes courage, while white representing honesty and purity. Economic overview and gross domestic product. In 2020-25, Indonesia nominal gross domestic product reached approximately $1.44 trillion according to the IMF. The country recorded a GDP growth rate of about 4.9%. GDP per capita increased to around $5,074. These figures show that Indonesia's economy is growing, although income growth remains gradual. Import and export activities. Indonesia plays an important role in global trade. Its main export products include palm oil, coal, nickel, petroleum gas, and mineral products. Major export destinations include China, the United States, Japan, India, and Singapore. Indonesia imports machinery, electronic vehicles, and petroleum mainly from China, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, and the United States. Current issues and challenges. One major issue is the EU-Indonesia Trade Agreement. This agreement aims to reduce dependence on China and the US. Under this deal, about 80% of Indonesia export will enter the EU tax-free.
Good day everyone. Today we take a closer look at Indonesian inflation trend over the past decade and how economic events have shaped consumer prices across the nation. From 2015 to 2019, Indonesia experienced a gradual moderation in inflation as the economy began to stabilize. Back in 2015, inflation was relatively high at around 6.36%. This was largely due to cost push factors, including reduction in fuel subsidies, adjustment in electricity tariff, and a weaker exchange rate, out of which is transportation and import costs. In 2016, inflation is significantly to about 3.53%, thanks to stabilizing global commodity prices and tighter monetary policy implemented by Bank Indonesia to keep inflation expectation under control. The following year, 2017, saw moderate inflation at 3.81%, influenced by controlled increases in administrative prices such as electricity tariff. By 2018 and 2019, inflation had declined further to 3.20% and 3.03% respectively. This reduction was supported by stable food supplies, carefully managed domestic demand. Then come to COVID-19 pandemic between 2020 and 2021, Indonesia experienced a sharp drop in inflation. In 2020, inflation fell to just 1.92% and in 2021, it dropped even further to 1.56%. Lockdown, income losses, and overall economic uncertainty keep household spending low. Moving forward to 2022, inflation began to rise again, reaching 4.21%. The increase was largely cost-driven, fueled by higher global food and energy prices, as well as domestic food adjustment, which pushed up production and logistic costs. In 2023, inflation moderated to around 3.67% as global supply chains improved and energy prices stabilized. In summary, Indonesian inflation story over the last decade reflects a careful balance between global pressure, domestic policy decision, and changing consumer behavior.
Today, I will be discussing the types of inflation in Indonesia from 2015 until 2024. Let us begin with demand for inflation. This type of inflation occurs when total demand for goods and services exceeds the economy's capacity to produce them, causing pricing to rise. In Indonesia, demand pull inflation was generally minor and short-lived. Between 2015 and 2019, temporary increases in consumer spending during Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr created brief price pressures, particularly on food items transportation services. From 2020 to 2021, demand pull inflation was almost non-existent. Economic restriction, income losses, and uncertainty caused by the pandemic significantly reduced consumer spending and investment. As of 2024, demand pull inflation remains low as consumer expenditure stays moderate and government policies continue to focus on price stability. Next, we move to cost push inflation, which occurs by rising production costs for producers to increase prices to maintain profitability. In 2015, the removal of fuel subsidies, particularly for premium gasoline, led to a sharp increase in transportation and production costs. Adjustment in electricity tariff and the depreciation of the rupiah further raised business expenses. By 2017, cost push inflation intensified due to increase in administered prices, including electricity tariff, management fees, and essential food items such as chicken, eggs, and chili. Between 2018 and 2019, rising operational costs continued to influence inflation, although government intervention helped keep price level under control. From 2022 onwards, global food and energy prices increases, along with domestic food price adjustment, once again raised costs. Nevertheless, improved supply conditions and government support from 2023 to 2024 helped to ease inflationary pressures. In conclusion, while Indonesia experienced different types of inflation over the years, cost push inflation remained the most significant.
Hi everyone, today I will present the effect of inflation from social and economic perspective. First, riots and protests. Inflation can lead to social unrest such as riots and protests. When prices of goods and services increase, but people's income does not increase, many families feel financial pressure. This problem is more serious for low-income and near-poor families who have limited savings and unstable jobs. Although Indonesia experienced economic growth, income distribution is still unequal. Because of this, many people feel that the situation is unfair, especially when they see government leaders living comfortably. As a result, people lose trust in the government and express their dissatisfaction through protests and riots. Secondly, poverty rate increase. Inflation increases the poverty rate. Rising prices make it difficult for people to afford basic needs such as food, electricity, housing, and transportation. Even small increases in prices can have a big impact on poor households. In Jakarta, the number of people living in poverty increased as inflation rose higher than national average. This shows that inflation directly lowers living standard and pushes more people into poverty. Thirdly, economic uncertainty and slower economic growth. From an economic perspective, inflation creates uncertainty for individuals and businesses. People become unsure about how much to spend or save, while businesses delay production and investment decisions. When inflation in Indonesia is higher than in neighboring countries, it becomes less attractive for foreign investors. This can weaken the value of the rupiah and slow down economic growth. Other than that, decline in purchasing power and household consumption. Inflation also reduces people's purchasing power. When prices rise, people can buy fewer goods and services even if their income stays the same. Because of higher living costs, many families had to reduce spending on essential items. Lastly, interest rate increase. Inflation often causes an increase in interest rate. Central banks raise interest rate to control inflation and reduce spending. However, higher interest rates increase the cost of loans, mortgage, and business financing. This discourages consumers from borrowing and business from investing.
Good day. Today we take a closer look at how Indonesia has addressed inflation through fiscal policy in the post-pandemic period. In Indonesia, fiscal policy played a crucial role in stabilizing the economy through two main channels: government spending and taxation. First, government spending was prioritized to protect households and ensure the availability of essential goods. The government introduced subsidies for food, fuel, and electricity, while also increasing spending on agriculture, food distribution, and infrastructure. This measure helped reduce the cost of living, strengthen supply chains, and prevent shortage. At the same time, Indonesian taxation policy focused on easing cost pressure for consumers and businesses. Tax relief on essential goods and the maintenance of relatively low tax rate helped lower production and distribution costs. This prevented prices from rising too quickly and supported household purchasing power. However, lower tax rate also limited government revenue, restricting how much public spending could be expended. Despite this challenge, Indonesia carefully balanced government spending with cautious tax policy. In conclusion, Indonesia's fiscal policy has proven to be a key tool in managing inflation and supporting economic stability in uncertain global conditions.
This breaking news explains how open market operations, or OMO, are used by Bank Indonesia to manage liquidity in the banking system. During periods of inflation, Bank Indonesia implements a contractionary open market operations by selling securities such as Certificate Bank Indonesia or SBI to commercial banks. When banks purchase these securities, money is transferred from banks to Bank Indonesia. As a result, excess liquidity in the banking system is absorbed. For example, in July 2011, SBI-based open market operations reached Rupiah 182 trillion, indicating large-scale sales of SBI to reduce liquidity during inflationary conditions. Next, this breaking news highlights the role of the reserve requirement in Bank Indonesia's monetary policy. The reserve requirement, known as Giro Wajib Minimum or GWM, is used by Bank Indonesia to influence the money supply by regulating how much banks must hold as reserves. As of December 2024, banks in Indonesia are required to maintain a minimum reserve at 7.5% for Rupiah deposits as reserves, reducing lending capacity and helping control inflation. Bank Indonesia also has been using the BI policy rate as a powerful monetary tool to respond to inflationary pressure and stabilize the economy. When the BI policy rate is increased, the commercial banks face higher borrowing costs. As a result, banks respond by raising lending interest rates for households and firms. Consequently, investment begins to slow, businesses postpone activities such as buying new machines, building factories, or expanding operations. At the same time, household consumption declines, especially for houses, cars, and other big-ticket purchases. For example, during 2013 to 2014, Bank Indonesia raised its policy rate from 5.5% to 7.25% in response to rising inflation following fuel subsidy reforms. Ultimately, this tighter monetary policy proved effective. In the following year, inflation declined and price stability in Indonesia improved. In particular, the government uses price ceilings to set the maximum retail price of critical consumer products. As a result, this policy aims to slow rapid price increases and protect consumers' purchasing power, especially for low and middle income households. For example, the government established a fixed retail price of Rp or Rupiah 14,000 per litre for cooking oil. This measure was introduced to ensure that cooking oil remained affordable even as global commodity prices increased. In the same context, on 19 January 2022, former President Joko Widodo stated that the government's main priority was to ensure that basic necessities remain affordable for the public. In conclusion, through price ceilings and market interventions, the Indonesia government seeks to control inflation, stabilize price of essential goods, and safeguard the welfare of consumers. The Indonesia government also uses income policy as a tool to control inflation by managing wage growth in the line with productivity and overall economic conditions. This policy is implemented through the annual minimum wage system known as Upah Minimum Provinsi or UMP. Under this system, the government sets a minimum wages using a formula based on inflation and economic growth. As a result, this approach helps limit rising production costs for firms and reduces the risk of cost-push inflation, where higher wages lead to higher prices. In conclusion, by aligning wage growth with economic conditions, income policy helps balance worker welfare and price stability, supporting Indonesia's effort to control inflation. This explains how Bank Indonesia uses exchange rate policy to control import cost-push inflation. When imported goods and raw material become more expensive due to the weakening rupiah, Bank Indonesia intervenes with the foreign exchange market to stabilize the currency. For example, in January 2023, Bank Indonesia actively optimized foreign exchange flows and intervened in spot, forward, and securities market to strengthen the rupiah amid global economic uncertainty.